Hello there. This is Professor Costanzo, and this video is an introduction to my two online U.S. history classes. History 1301, which runs up to the end of the Civil War, and History 1302, which begins at the end of the Civil War and runs roughly up through the present. And because those two classes are very similar in their online format, I've recorded just one introduction that will show you how the course works. Now, because of that, you'll see in the introduction a lot of chapter titles and whatnot that might not apply to your particular course, but if you follow along with your syllabus, you'll be just fine. And the intro will show you how things work. Now, the main thing we're going to show you in here is how to work with Blackboard, because the Blackboard site is the place where everything happens in this course. In addition to showing you around the course Blackboard site, I'm also going to bring up the main documents that govern the course. And I'll show you around and I'll explain the documents and explain the course and how it's going to work. And hopefully, it'll all make sense to you. And if it doesn't, you just email me, let me know what your questions are. Alright, let's get started. Now, one important thing to note is that this video is used for multiple different classes at different times. So the dates that you'll see in the video aren't necessarily the dates that apply to your class. You want to make sure you follow along with the syllabus and the documents posted to your Blackboard rather than things you might have seen in this video. So the first thing we want to look at is Blackboard. Blackboard is how we'll be running this course. If you've signed into Blackboard before, that's great. If you haven't, this is the web address for Blackboard at TAMUCC. It's bb9.tamucc.edu. That'll bring up the login page and you can log in with your student credentials. It'll bring you to a site that looks like this one with all of your courses that you're currently or previously enrolled in. Now, this is the home page for our course. Where we're really going to be running the course from is not this splash page, but through the content part. So if you click on the content section of Blackboard, you're going to get these 6 folders. We've got a general course materials folder and then a folder for each unit of the course. And as you can see by the dates there, each unit is also going to be connected with a certain time period. In the shortened summer sessions, those are each about a week. And if we go to the course materials section, this is going to show us some basic aspects of the course, right? There's this introductory video, which you're watching right now. There's also the syllabus for the class, a reading schedule, videos that show you how to do various other things, grading rubrics, advice on how to write the papers, and then advice for getting around in Blackboard if you're new to Blackboard. So let's take some of these one at a time. The syllabus obviously being the most important. If you open up this link,
it will open up the course syllabus, which looks like this. It lays out all the details you need to get through this class, including the info about me and all of our course policies and course details. One particularly important thing to address here is the required reading, the book you'll need for this class. The book you'll need for this class is called Give Me Liberty, an American History. It's by an author named Eric Foner. You'll want to make sure to check your syllabus to see what volume and what edition your class is working with, because those change from class to class and over the years. So check your syllabus to see what edition that you'll be working with. These books are available very widely. You can get them at the TAMUCC bookstore. You can get them online at any bookseller online. I've provided a link in your syllabus to the publisher's website where you can also get the ebook version of the textbook. It's also available on reserve at TAMUCC Library if you want to check it out from them rather than buying a copy of it. The other thing I want to spend some particular attention on is the grading for this class. We've broken the grading up into 4 major categories. First is brief reading quizzes, little 10-question quizzes that you'll do for each of the 14 chapters in the textbook. Some of them will be due each week. There's also a quiz on the syllabus that's due in the first week. So those 15 quizzes altogether will be dropping the lowest 3 of those grades. The other smaller item is discussion forum posts. We'll be doing each week where, using the discussion forum in Blackboard, I'll ask you a question. You'll do 2 of them each week. One will be about a primary source, and one will be about history and our society in general. And for those, you'll answer the question, you'll read the primary source, answer the question, and you'll also respond to another student. And at the end, when we calculate the total grades, we'll drop the lowest one of those scores. Now, the larger assignments, there's 3 primary source analysis papers that are going to account for 40% of the total grade, And since actually we drop one of those paper grades, right, you'll do 3 papers, but the lowest score will be dropped. So each of those 2 papers that are kept will basically be worth 20% of the total grade. You'll also do 2 take-home exams. This is how we'll do tests in this class. About a week before the exams are due, I'll put essay questions up in Blackboard, and then you'll have the week. You'll write up your answers to those questions based on your reading of the textbook and the other information that we've given you in the class. And those essay exams will count as your midterm and your final. So in the rest of the syllabus, you've got information that lays out all of the details and all of the policies for our class. There's explanations and brief write-ups of the various assignments and the late policy and the communication policy, anything like that. It's all here in the syllabus. Towards the end of the syllabus, you get to a reading and assignment schedule.
Look in the course materials section of Blackboard. That's its own separate document as well, a reading and assignment schedule that I've got here as a PDF. And this schedule shows you for each week of this course what we're up to and what you are required to be doing. It gives the subjects we'll be looking at, the chapters you've got to read, and then the assignments. And you can see by looking through that there's a pattern to the assignments' due dates, right? Each week you're going to see a set of quizzes for each of the chapters we're dealing with that week. They're going to be due by the Saturday of that week, by, in this case, the 11th of July. And then on Sunday, 3 other things are usually due. Each of the 2 discussions about a primary source or about a historical issue. So you'll write on Sunday 2 discussion posts, and then there'll be 1 of 2 things due each Sunday, finally, a primary source paper or an exam. Each of the 5 weeks you've got 1 of those things due. So the primary source paper, first one is due this first Sunday of week 1. In week 2 there's no primary source paper, but you're writing a midterm exam. Right. Now these are the due dates for each of these things. It doesn't mean these things have to be done on those days. They need to be completed by those days. And this indicates that this is all by 11:59, right at the very end of that day at night. So you're free to do the quizzes ahead of time, right? Do them all on Thursday. It doesn't matter to me, right? You just need to have them done by Saturday. The same with the writing assignments. You can, in fact, if you're looking to complete this whole course in a week and have the worst week of your life, you could do that mostly if you want to hammer it all out in week 1, right? The various things you wouldn't be able to do at that point would be the exams, because the exams are only posted the week before they're due. But you wouldn't be able to do everything all in 1 week in the last week. And the reason for that is the exams and the quizzes and the discussions are all due at these times, and they can't be done after these times. They can't be turned in late. The papers do have a late policy that's different. You can turn in papers after they are due. They lose 5 points per day that they are late, up to a week late, right? You can't turn them in after a week late. This is the sort of thing that you'll see, this pattern that we've established, where quizzes are due by Saturday, everything else is due by Sunday each week. The big exception to that is in week 5. In week 5, everything is due either on a Thursday or a Friday, because the term ends that day. So that's what that looks like. The only other exception is that there are a couple things due in week 1 that aren't due in any of the other weeks that are kind of course introduction kickoff things, and we'll discuss those. If we take back a look at Blackboard, we've got this course materials section. I'm explaining a lot about the course, but this how-to video section also covers other aspects of the course. If you want to know how to access the quizzes and how to do the discussions, that's here in the how-to section. There's a video walkthrough of that. If you want to know how to find primary sources for the paper, there's a document that describes that, but this is also a video screencast walkthrough of that. And if you want to know how to upload your papers, right? If you're new to Blackboard and don't know any of these things about Blackboard, there's online walkthroughs of how to do all of these things, how to upload your paper, and how to see my comments on your paper. Because especially for the first 2 papers, you're going to want to see those comments so that you can make the next papers better, right? So those are the how-to videos. So if we come back to the content folder and we want to look at these units, these are all organized the same way. The first thing is a video introducing the themes of the unit. And this is me walking through some of the big themes. What I've done is distilled a lot of content into big themes for the unit. So this unit involves 3 chapters, chapters 1, 2, and 3. And this video walks through some of the big themes that you should think about and look for when you read the content for this unit. Each of the units will have a themes video. I recommend viewing that first before delving into the chapters because it'll give you a really good idea of what to look for and what to think about. And it'll give you a really good idea as to what are the sorts of things I'm going to be asking about when you see the midterm and the final. So we mentioned that there's a couple of special things for Unit 1. One of those is the syllabus quiz. Due by Thursday, this first Thursday of the course. The syllabus quiz is a quiz about the syllabus. It should be super easy. This is a good way to get an easy 100 into your quiz average, and it also makes sure that you've looked through the syllabus and that you've seen all of the policies and all of the information that's relevant for this class. The next thing that's different for Unit 1 is also due this Thursday, and then it's an introduction of yourself. And we're going to be using the discussion board to introduce ourselves. I've already put an introduction of me, and I've proposed a kind of icebreaker game where we kind of tell things about ourselves, some of which are true, some of which are lies. I've put up my truths and my lies, and I invite you to try to guess which ones are lies. I have yet to have a class identify both of the lies in my pile. When you are ready to do that before this Thursday, you'll click there. It'll take you to the discussion board. It'll show you the question, and it'll allow you to enter your own introduction of yourself. And again, if you're interested in seeing, if you're unsure how to do that or if it's not making sense to you, go into that how-to section and watch the video on how to create a discussion board post. In Unit 1, you can see we've also got a primary source paper due. This link will take you to the details for that assignment. And we've got 2 discussions that are due on Sunday, a historical issue discussion that's wrapped around the question of what is history. And the other thing we'll be doing is a primary source discussion each week. We'll be pointing to a set of primary sources that are in your textbook. For those of you unfamiliar with the term, a primary source is a source left to us by the people from the past. Right? So something written by the people we are reading, or something that they built, or something that they left, something that's from that time period. Right? This is different than your textbook. Your textbook was written by a guy named Eric Foner, who is alive today. That's not a primary source about anything. Your textbook, by and large, is a secondary source. It's someone else telling you about the past. A primary source is from the people themselves. And what historians do to develop history, to make arguments about the past and to figure out what happened in the past, is we look at those primary sources. We go back to those sources that are original to the time period we're looking at. And each week you're going to do a little of that in 2 places. One, in a discussion where we're pointing to a pair of primary sources that are included in your textbook, and I've posed a question to you about them. And you'll look at those and you'll respond, right? And again, see the how-to video section for how to sort of make that happen in Blackboard. The other place that you're dealing with primary sources is back here at the primary source paper. Each week you'll be going out into the internet into one of 3 websites that are full of primary sources. You'll be finding a source of your own, and you'll be writing up an analysis of it. And that paper assignment describes that analysis. So you'll be dealing a good bit with primary sources in this class, both in the discussion forums and with the papers. Now, in each unit, finally, there are 3 chapters due, except for Unit 5 where there's only 2, and these have folders of their own that describe the content for that unit. So the content for Unit 1 is Give Me Liberty, Chapter 1. There's no great shock there, right? That's how we described what we're going to be doing. Once you've read Chapter 1 of Give Me Liberty, I have some supplementary videos that I recommend here. A lot of these are from the Crash Course series, which is very popular on YouTube. I very, very much recommend reading the textbook first before watching the videos, especially the crash course videos, because the crash course videos run very quickly. The information comes quickly, the humor comes quickly, and if you have no idea what they're talking about, you're not going to be able to follow. But if you've read through the chapter and you've already got some background in it, then it's going to be reinforcing your knowledge, and you're going to be able to follow what they're saying and the jokes that they make, and that's going to be a much better experience for you than just watching the videos blind. So the other thing that's listed in each of these folders is the quiz for that chapter, and that's where this is located. If you click on this, it'll take you to the Chapter 1 quiz. Just about the quizzes, again, they're due by Saturday at 11:59 each week, except for week 5. The quizzes each have 10 questions. They're multiple choice. They're about the chapter that you just read. If you don't do well on the first quizzes, don't freak out. It's been my experience with these quizzes that people have a very quick learning curve, and they get used to the types of questions that are asked, and they get used to taking the quizzes very quickly, and they start to do well very quickly. On that front also, you get 2 tries for each of the quizzes. If you take it and you don't like your score the first time, you can take it again. The system will give you 25 minutes to take the quiz, and at the end of that, if you're unhappy with your score, you can retry it. You can look back through the textbook. Obviously, these are open book. You can flip through the book to find the answers you're looking for. It will make a great deal more sense for you to have read through the chapter first, because in 25 minutes, it'll be hard for you to track down the information for each and every question if you have never read the chapter before. And whichever of the 2 scores is higher, that's the score that the system will keep. So each unit looks like that. Each unit has a set of items. If we go into Unit 2, we'll see that it drops those special introductory items, and it keeps to the video about themes, a historical issue discussion, a primary source discussion, and then folders giving the content and quiz for each of the chapters. In Unit 2, you don't see a paper here because a week prior, you'll see a midterm appear here. And the weeks that you do exams, week 2 and week 5, you don't have papers due. The exams are essay exams, but also they're, like everything in this course, they're take-home. They're open book. You'll be writing 2 out of 3 essays that are offered to you about the chapters that you just read through. For the rest of the Blackboard, if you're touring around the rest of this, there's a syllabus section that has just the syllabus. We've been tooling mostly around the content section. That's the core of the course, really. If you want to look directly at just the quizzes, there's a quizzes link, and just at the discussion forums, there's a discussion forum link. If you want to email me through Blackboard, you can do that through here, or you can email me at adam.costanzo@tamucce.edu with any other questions that you might have from any email that you might have. That's no problem at all. So that's basically our course intro. I did also want to intro the textbook to you since we mentioned it. This is what the online version of the textbook looks like. This is our textbook, Give Me Liberty. The online version looks just like the print version. Each of the chapters begins with a kind of timeline of what they're going to talk about. I recommend, if you aren't the sort of person that has a lot of luck with textbooks, right? If history textbooks just bored you to death and don't speak to you, and you just can't get through the information without falling asleep, or you read through it, you're awake, but then at the end you've retained nothing. My recommendations for you are to use the tools that the textbook companies have kind of built into the book to try to take advantage of it. At the beginnings of chapters, there's focus questions. There's similar questions at the end of chapters. There are review questions, right? If you've read through the chapter and you then read through these questions and you feel like you could kind of answer them, well, then you probably understood a good bit of what's going on in the chapter, right? If they don't make any sense to you and you don't even know what they're talking about, maybe you weren't conscious while you were reading the chapter, right? And you'll want to go back through. When you are doing that, when you are in the chapter itself, take advantage of the way they break things up and the kind of signposting that they give you, it's called. So they're going to break the chapters into big sections, into subsections, right? Allow these subtitles to help you break the information up, right? Take into consideration, all right, first we're going to read about this, then this. I can see the differences there, and then the details are here, right? Also note that along the sides of the pages, there's these signposts that say, all right, emergence of agriculture. And that's what we're kind of talking about in here, right? These sorts of signposting, in addition to giving you a kind of outline view of what they're saying to keep it making sense for you, they're also going to be helpful when you're looking back through if you're taking the quizzes. So that's my recommendation for the textbook. If you've got any additional questions after this introduction and after taking a look at the other how-to videos, just let me know, send me an email, and I'm very happy to get back to you. Alrighty. I'm looking forward to our class. I'll see you in the discussion.